Let's go!
Here at the end of all things, all the monsters are out for Monster Hunter World, and I'm trying to still figure out how I want to do it. But rate the monsters of Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter World Iceborne. I think it's just going to be a very general sort of rate them on how I feel about how cool they are or how interesting they are. Interesting shit they do. Probably one of the best bets. And I think Great Jagras is like the best place to start because he's like a solid 6 out of 10, you know? He does have an interesting gimmick. He eats the other bullshit monsters that are all roaming around. And he's a giant funky iguana and he gets all fat. He's actually kind of cool, but he has a nice gimmick. So 6 out of 10. Kuluyaku also has a gimmick, but I don't think the gimmick is nearly as interesting. Weird bird that carries rocks and eggs. I think Kuluyaku is about a 4. 4 out of 10. Pookie Pookie, I feel largely the same about, right? Kind of a gimmicky, the poison monster. Weird bird, lizard. But I think I'd also give Pookie Pookie maybe a 4. It's kind of, it's just an all right monster, and I'm not a big fan of fighting him. Bareth is cool. I think it's a decent step up. Is it as cool as Great Jagras? It isn't. But this is like the first monster that you fight in this game that actually puts up kind of a fight, right? Where they actually start doing shit to you. So I'm gonna give Bareth the same score as Jagras. I'm gonna give it like a 6. Giratotus has got possibly one of the coolest moments you first run into in this game, and that's the turf war. Giratotus's turf war alone puts it at a 6 out of 10. But other than that, some creepy salamander monster. Not a huge fan of Giratotus, much less fighting him. You know what? Now that I'm more thinking about it, you have to fight him in all that stupid water and stuff. Yeah, I think this might be one of the first lower ranks, maybe a 3. I think if he didn't have the turf war, it would probably be a 3. He has a good punching bag. The Kadachis, so Toby Kadachi, I think is okay. I don't feel any specific direction other than Viper Squirrel, and that's the emotions I get. I give Toby possibly a 5, like right down the middle. Yeah, it's a cool design, but that's about it. Anjanath is where things start getting really hairy. This monster's just hard to fight, right? Like, they threw an Anjanath into Endgame and made it do a shit ton of damage outside of, like, Fulgor Anjanath. It would be tough. Like, this monster is actually difficult. Yeah, he's one of the first walls that you sort of get. And I think he's like the good baseline monster, right? Like, he's a T-Rex with creepy wings and a giant funky nose, and I think that's cool. I like the simplicity of his design as well, so I give him like a 7. I think Anjanath is a good 7 out of 10. Rathian is about as basic as it gets. Rathian's a 5 out of 10. What the hell do I need to say, right? It's the first time that you actually fight a dragon, but it does nothing specifically interesting or special other than it just being, whoa, that's a big dragon. Wow, look at that thing. So regular Rathian is like a 5 out of 10. Stitziaku could suck my ass. This monster can piss off and then suck my ass. Annoying as hell. Good to beat up. I'm so glad that when you get to beat his ass down, he's like a 2. I really don't like Stitzy. Fuck you, Stitzy. He rolls in and then flashes you as you're fighting, you know, something like a Palumu, and then he pieces out. Paparazzi monster. Asshole. Palumu is a weird monster, right? And sometimes they put in weird monsters that I'm not a huge fan of. I think Palumu's the perfect, like, mix of funky design, but also a really nice and interesting gimmick. Cute, but weird and creepy. It doesn't put up much of a fight though. So I think it's about like a 6, right? 6 out of 10. Interesting, actually an interesting brand new monster. I don't think Paluma was in anything else before World. I think this is kind of an original design. Gyros is lame as hell. He looks dumb. He doesn't do anything special. Like, the only cool move he sort of has is, get out of the way, Mr. President. And he like dives and just lunges his fucking body forward and flips, and this stupid ass attack. Gyros is there just to interrupt you when you're fighting Odogaron. So I'm gonna give this dude like a 1. Gear, we're not talking about the gear. Different thing, right? We're talking about fighting him. Is fighting him cool? Does he look cool? He's just so basic in every way. His best attack is diving and plunging over, like, repeatedly. Nah. He is a 1 out of 10, the lowest so far. Rattleban's got an interesting design, rolling around the entire map, and he's huge. Watching the spikes crack off Rattleban, I think is kind of neat. Like, he's an upgrade from Bareth. So I dig him, right? I dig him, but I don't love him. I still think he's like a 6 out of 10. Nothing about it really screams out to me in any way other than he's got this interesting gimmick of rolling around. Fighting him's kind of weird. You bounce like crazy. You wouldn't bounce now, but you get into this fight and you start bouncing like crazy, and it's like, Jesus, I just want to hit this guy. Legion is cool. I think it's an interesting design. It's like one of the first really big flight monsters that you fight outside of Rathian. I don't feel it goes in any specific direction that I really love. Nothing that I would give more than a 7, but I think it's a little bit better than Radoban. A little bit better than Radoban. So I would say he does have the annoying screeching, right? It sounds like he sounds like a flock of chickens. I do think it's a cool looking monster, right? But it's like one of the most bird-like monsters in the game. He's cool. And I don't really hate fighting him either. We're not talking about the later Legiana. Odogaron, one of the best new monsters, easily. I think Odogaron straight up is a 9 out of 10. Great monster, cool looking, aggressive, and is kind of fun to fight, right? I love everything about him. I love it. I'm not going to talk about his armor, but I think he's just neat, right? What a great looking original creature for the game. Rathalos is a 6. Been around for so long, so it's kind of hard to like say anything unique about Rathalos, but he's a good 6 out of 10, right? Rathalos is what he is. He's a classic, and he doesn't really do much different in this one. Same thing kind of applies to Diablos, but Diablos' gimmick is really interesting. The whole burrowing and rising up from the burrow. I think Diablos is one of the first monsters you run into that really starts to test your wit, right? Where it really tries to challenge you, and I like that about it. I like the fact that you could start using screamer pods to blow up the floor. You can start actually fighting this monster in a way that is like, oh, so this is the way I'm supposed to play Monster Hunter. So I give Diablos like a 7 because of that fact. It feels fun to fight. Kieran. This stupid fucking horse. Polarizing. Yeah, you're either gonna love this monster or not like it. I'm gonna say the experience I have fighting Kieran now is a bit different because Kieran with Fatalis armor is not so bad. But before, this fight sucks. This fight is just cart central, and he just one-shots the shit out of you. If there's one thing I enjoy the most is just knocking this horse to the ground and beating the shit out of it. I legit enjoy that, right? Watching Kieran get smacked and then he like flies across and you're like, let's get this man. That feels amazing on this monster. So I have to give it a little bit of credit. I enjoy watching it die, but I don't like much else about it. It's a horse with a horn, and it pisses me off. So I give it a 4 out of 10. I've already talked about it too much. I'd argue Zora Magdaros is the worst monster in the game. The Zora fight, the look of Zora Magdaros, everything about it is just lame and boring. And they try to make the scale huge and crazy, but what you actually do during the fight sucks, man. If I could give it a 0, I would give it a 0. But I'm giving it a 1. It's gonna be matched with Gyros as just like, oh god, not Zora. Please, God. Like, oh wait, we have to do Zora Magdaros to get these items? Oh my god, no thank you. 1 out of 10. So I don't know if Dodogama had as much memes about him from before. Little ham boy, where there's like this universal rule: if Dodogama is running around, you don't kill him, because apparently he has this trait to him where he does not attack unless he's attacked. He just won't. He just goes around and eats rocks. That's what he does. He's one of the most non-aggressive monsters in the whole game, I think. Something about him was super pacifist. Either way, he's kind of cute, right? I get it. I get where everything was sort of building up and everyone was talking how cute Dodogama is. He's got a derpy face. He doesn't look very threatening. He just spits rocks at you. But just for the fact that he has like the cute factor and he's sort of been memed in many ways, I give him like a 7, you know? About a 7. Pink Rathian, I don't know what to say. Whatever the hell I gave the previous Rathian. What was it, a 5 out of 10? Definitely, I feel nothing specific in any direction, right? 5 out of 10. Pink Rathian's fine. It was just a little bit harder version of a Rathian. Basil Juice! Oh, this bitch! The B2 Bomber. I'm giving Basil Juice a 9 out of 10. From what I understand, this is a new monster, right? What a great idea. He has his own music that kicks in. He comes in and fucks up your fight, and that is annoying, right? But just the looming threat that there is this creature that rolls around the world and fucks your shit up is really funny. And he can do it from distance. He can like blow you up and then the trumpets kick. Yeah, like I think Basil Juice is a cool fight. I think the whole exploding pods thing is really interesting too. He's got a great roar. He looks cool. He looks like he's just like fuming with anger and shit. Yeah. Yeah, Basil Juice is awesome. I'm gonna give him a 9 out of 10. The Pickle! Pickle J-Ho. Devil Joe's good, right? I don't think I like Devil Joe as much as Basil Juice, but Pickle's like a good, aggressive, weird-looking monster. Just such a funky creature. Talk about like a monster that went all upper body, all day. I give Devil J-Ho a 10. I'm sorry, an 8 out of 10. I'm not completely in love with them, but an 8 out of 10 I think is appropriate. Lavasioth. This is like a 2. This is like a 2. Lava Gyrototus, but it's even more annoying. Do you think it's better than Gyrototus? I think this one's even more. I can't stand this guy. Just this monster sucks. The Gyrototus creatures in general just like, I think it's worse. I actually think it's worse. That shitty rock skin. It's not that he's like hard, it's just that he sucks, man. 2 out of 10. Urigan, very similar to the previous monster. Radoban. I'm gonna say Urigan is Jay Leno, the Jay Leno of the game, but I don't feel much in any different direction that I did for Radoban. So I think I gave Rado either a 5 or a 6, and I think I'm gonna give Urigan probably a 5. He's got an interesting gimmick, but he does largely the same thing, but with explosives this time. Oh, although this guy does have an interesting gimmick, if you knock him over, you can mine his back for unique items. And that was like an interesting, like, what the hell? You can mine a creature? And then you try it and you like actually use your fucking pickaxe on his back. So that's cool. Neat little aspect. You can actually mine Radoban too. Whoa, didn't even know. Granted, I just don't fight Radoban very much after, you know, visiting his area for the first time. But whew, right over my head. Azure Rathalos, I couldn't even tell you what Azure does differently than regular Rathalos, other than the fact that he's in Elder's Recess, right? I think Azure is a more annoying version of Rathalos, but I don't really feel that any of his gameplay makes me want to go in any other direction than giving it like a 5 or a 6, you know? So I'm gonna say 5. I have no attachment to Azure Rathalos really in much of any way. Black Diablos, yeah, just once again an amplified, angrier version of Diablos, and I feel about the same. This one will just test your merits a bit more, but you'll just get killed quicker, right? That's the whole thing with super pissed Diablos, is that she will fuck you up. So I give Black Diablos a 6. 6 out of 10. Still a good monster. Nergigante. He's got a fun fight. He's got a fun gimmick. He looks really cool when he fights. He's got great turf wars. He can technically kill any monster, right? Technically can be the one to take down anything. I'm gonna say Nerg might be one of my first candidates for a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna say Nergigante could be a 10 out of 10 for me. He's challenging. I don't really have any disagreements in terms of gameplay or visuals. Just a cool creature, right? In terms of being an actual original and the hero creature of Monster Hunter World, vanilla, that's a pretty great hero creature in my opinion. Teostra's neat. This is once again one of those first fights, Elder Dragon fights, that you're like gonna get really tested against because you start experiencing what Novas are. I like Teostra. It's a cool Elder, but I think it's about a 7 out of 10. Can be kind of annoying to fight. The fact that his like back legs have crazy armor on them and stuff. 7 out of 10 for Teostra. Yeah, I don't really feel much else. Lunastra. I'm gonna give Lunastra a 6. So Blue Teostra, I'm gonna give it a 5. Lunastra is even more annoying. This is an annoying ass monster to fight. It looks cool. It's a good Elder. It is powerful, but Jesus, dude. The wind stuff, the blue fire, it's just, this is not a fun fight. Anytime you prevent Lunastra from playing the game is a better time. Kushala. This is the epitome of an extremely annoying fight as well. Possibly one of the most annoying fights in the game because of all the wind shit. But Kushala looks so cool. Deora is so sick looking, and the way it acts is so cool. Like, it's hard for me to judge this because gameplay wise, I hate it, but it looks awesome. And the shitty thing is that very few creatures outside of Lunastra and Kushala actually utilize like wind pressure very much. This is one of the creatures that does the wind shit to you. And my God, dude, wind shit sucks. What you're saying is this dragon blows. Absolutely. Kushala was a breeze for you. Yeah, get the hell out. You get the hell out. I am not a fan of the way this monster plays, but I am a big fan of the way it looks, which is gonna have to unfortunately put it to be like a 4 out of 10. Val Hazak, super cool. Super cool. Actually fun to fight as well. I'm gonna give Val Hazak like a 9. Cool looking monster, cool looking area, unique to the game, has interesting arenas to fight him in too. Yeah, I like Val Hazak. I'm a big fan of this monster. Can be relatively squishy, but has unique abilities and stuff. The undead dragon. God damn, the arena for this monster is so sick. When you first discover it and you're going in this like giant bone cave. Oof, yeah, that's cool. Val Hazak is definitely a 9 out of 10 in my opinion. Kulve Tereth. Cool looking. I like the fact that it gets all this speed and mobility once you knock off all of her armor. I guess we're considering like the whole fight, right? The actual battle itself. I'm gonna give Kulve like a 7. I think it's cool. It's good that they eventually made it a kill quest, right? If it wasn't a kill quest, it was just like the, oh, knock off its gold and then peace out. Yeah, not nearly as great. But the fact that it does technically have armored, and then you remove that armor and it has different phases throughout that, it's pretty neat. That ending fight too is epic as shit. In fact, that ending fight makes it up to an 8 out of 10. It's too cool. 8 out of 10 for Kulve Tereth. When it starts spitting all that lava everywhere and the entire arena comes down, that's awesome. I feel about the same for Xeno'jiiva as well. I feel about the same. I think Xeno can be a little polarizing for some people. You're either really gonna like this monster or you're not. And I'm kind of in the middle. I think it is a really sick finality to vanilla Monster Hunter World. And it is a cool looking monster. It's like pre-birth elder dragon. It's like a baby elder dragon. But I think it's about an 8 out of 10. It doesn't super impress me. It's an epic fight. The arena's cool, but its biggest gimmick is that it's just large, right? It's just really big. And after a while, it's like, oh God, this fight's still going. So now we're into Iceborne. Beatotus. So they found a way to make Giratotus and Lavasioth less frustrating. It's not amazing, but it's not nearly as bad as the previous ones. And watching this thing go through snow is actually kind of cool, right? Watching it like swim up around snow is kind of neat. It's a better battle. And it's also because it takes place in a new area. So I think Beatotus is like a 6 out of 10. Banbros, I think Banbro is actually kind of dope. He's definitely a squishy introduction, right? This monster is not supposed to be super hard, but the gimmicks are awesome. Picks up a tree and runs your ass over with it. He is literally supposed to be the Anjanath of Iceborne, outside of actually, you know, the new Anjanath. So I think Banbro doesn't get a lot of credit. I think this monster deserves like a 9 out of 10. Cool gimmicks, fun to fight, super hard, not at all, right? Is generally an introductory monster, but for being an introductory monster, that's the way you do it. This is the best way to do it. Most introductory monsters are going to be super forgettable. I think they added enough unique stuff into this guy to make him actually memorable. So I'm going to give him like 9 out of 10. We don't give a lot of the early monsters 9 out of 10s, and I think this is one of the ones that deserves it. Viper Topi Kadachi, lame! Just poisons you. Hard. Lame. Viper Topi Kadachi, I think is, I've 3 out of 10. This monster can lick my ass. Obviously, I've only killed it 3 times. If I don't need to fight it, I don't want to. No, thank you. Original Toby's okay, right? This guy just looks a little bit different. Nah, get him out of here. Same thing with Nightshade Palumu. Looks way cooler than Palumu. I get it, but it's just annoying. Just incredibly fucking annoying. I'll give Nightshade a little bit of a higher grade, but it's like a 4 out of 10 still. Like, once again, these early monsters that they sort of adjust and move up, nah, they're kind of just really annoying. And the same thing can be sort of said about Coral Pookie Pookie. I don't even remember anything of this creature. What the hell does Coral Pookie Pookie even do? Water jets? I don't even remember, dude. It was over a year ago we fought this guy. Butt water? Oh, the water puke. That's right. The bladder tail. Well, that's weird, but I don't think it's worth anything more than like a 5 out of 10. Pookie Pookie's weird butt water? 5 out of 10. Barioth. This is a tough one because this monster's challenging. This is the first wall that you run into in Iceborne, and it's a tough wall. This monster is hard. I think he looks cool. I love it that he's like obviously snow-based and he only appears in hoarfrost, and he's incredibly fast, right? Like if you don't recognize this monster's gimmick, you just get ripped up. Yeah, he's literally a saber-toothed dragon. I'm gonna give him a 7 out of 10. Obviously a fight of conversation when you're talking about Iceborne. You're gonna have some talks about fighting Barioth your first few times. Nargacuga is really cool too. I don't think it's in the same, is it in the same tree as Barioth? It is. It's a flying wyvern. I think Nargacuga is super sick. I think it's a cooler looking Barioth and is kind of more fun and is even more acrobatic. I'm gonna give Nargacuga like an 8 out of 10. Fun fight, right? Fun fight. I dig it. I dig it. I can't remember much else that happens during it, but I did have fun. Oh. So admittedly, this is not only my favorite monster in the game, it's also the best one. Did you know that? Did you know that Glavenus is the best monster in the game? Monster that bites its tail to sharpen it. If you cut off the tail, it goes flying like a spun knife and then slams into the ground. It's so cool. I love the creativity of Glavenus. I know he's not unique to this game, but just the idea that this creature is going to buff its tail into this giant weapon, this giant sword, and then whoop your ass with it. It's such a cool visual style. 10 out of 10. Glavenus for me is a absolute 10 out of 10. Great monster. Tigrix, or Tigrix, I guess as they pronounce it. Tigrix just feels like another Barioth, right? It's like a classic. It's an old monster. People are gonna be more familiar with it than me, but I don't feel anything really beyond a 6, you know? Just a hyper-aggressive, run-at-you-all-the-time sort of creature. It felt a lot like I was fighting Barioth again. I know he was the original, all right, I know, but this is from my interpretation of just Monster Hunter World. I'm gonna give Tigrix possibly a 6 out of 10. He's okay. Brachydios! What else do I need to say? Another 10 out of 10. Actual 10 out of 10. Monster that rolls around and spits on its hands and it's now covered in acid and punches the shit out of everything and is super unga bunga-y. You know what? Actually, no. Brachy Vanilla gets a 9. This is a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 monster. And then, yeah, the acid that it puts down eventually explodes. A fun, crazy fight, right? Fun and crazy. Music is nutty. This definitely feels like it came from, like, the PSP era of Monster Hunter, you know? Where their ideas were getting super nutty. We're just gonna have fun with this shit. I'm assuming that Brachydios and Glavenus came from the same game. I'm just gonna make that wild assumption that they came from the same game, right? Or around the same time frame. 3DS, they came from the 3DS, different games. They feel like they have the same energy in my opinion. Either way, I'm giving Brachydios Vanilla a 9 out of 10. Shrieking Legiana! We made Legiana more annoying! Even more annoying! 4 out of 10. What else do I need to say? This fucking monster. It always shows up with like another Legiana and some kind. Jesus. Frustrating as shit monster. Fucking thing. My god. We just made Legiana and we made it worse! Ugh. Fulgor Anjanath is Anjanath but dragon element. Like, he doesn't really do much else that's different. He looks a lot cooler. Right? He looks really cool. He's thunder element. I remember being dragon. I think he's like a 4, maybe a 5. He's neat. But after the first Anjanath being like a nice, like, classic, I think this is, yeah, he's okay. Right? He's all right. Acidic Glavenus. For me, definitely doesn't have the impact of the original Glavenus. Something about acidic isn't nearly as dope, and I think actually drops the points a little bit. I think this goes down to like an 8 out of 10, right? It's a step down. It's like, I think Acidic Glavenus would have been cool if it was the first one, and then you came across as Glavenus, which is like the super big boy. Like, this one feels like it's the precursor to Glavenus. So, 8 out of 10. Still a cool fight, but 8 out of 10. Ebony Odogaron. So, once again, just like Fulgor Anjanath, we're just gonna take the monster and just make it look really cool. Right, it's super sick looking, but I think Ebony Odogaron is much more forgettable than regular Odogaron. Yeah, this one is the Odogaron but a dragon now. I think it doesn't have as much impact, right? I think it's about a 7 out of 10. It's a cool monster, and I still like it a lot. But Odogaron, like the weird, you know, vampire puppy sort of thing, I don't know. I kind of found I don't feel like this amplified Odogaron enough to make me think that this is better than the original in any way. Emo Odogaron? I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Velkhana. Oh, let's see if we can come up with a controversial opinion here. So Velkhana is the hero dragon of Iceborne, and is naturally the big ice dragon of the final expansion. I get what they're going for with Velkhana. Velkhana is like this super pristine creature. The super pristine sort of like vast in ice and right, elegant, right? I think elegant is the perfect way to describe the monster. But it never came across as threatening to me, right? Something about Velkhana never felt threatening, almost as in like, don't touch it. Nobody touch that creature. It's too precious. I don't think it has the same impact as Nergigante. I think it looks cool, and it is a fun fight, right? It is a fun fight. It is fun to hear and see all the ice flying off, and I think that gameplay aspect is really big. It's a good monster, but I don't think it sets any standards, so I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Seething basil juice! We just took basil juice and we made it fucking insane. His bombs get huge. It's like whoever made basil juice before got super mad and was extremely angry at the players. I think Seething, even without remembering what I gave Basil Juice before, I think I gave Basil like either a 9 or a 10. I think Seething is a 9 out of 10 still, right? The dive bomb, super cool, and the fact that it looks amazing. Seething has that like visual aesthetic that it just looks like it's so mad. Yeah, I like Seething a lot. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I think Black Veil Val Hazak is sort of forgettable. It's cool that Val Hazak is like a mushroom monster, but I don't think it does anything much different than Val. I feel like it's a less interesting version of Val Hazak. You know? I get it. Like, they're both about, like, degradation. They're about things stagnating and dying. Yeah, his intros, he's got a great intro. But I think it's only okay, especially in comparison to Val Hazak original. I'm gonna give it a 6. 6 out of 10. Namiel. So I think Namiel should get at least mentioned for one of the best looking monsters in the game with interesting abilities, right? The whole water thing, making everyone slide around and stuff. The whole fact that it's like a walking jellyfish or some shit. Weird, creepy, beautiful sort of monster design. And also has an interesting gimmick where you have to get its like water armor off. I like Namiel a lot. I think it's a very good Elder Dragon introduction. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Something about it's not making me want to give it a 10 out of 10, but I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Still like really, really great Elder Dragon. Savage Devil J-Ho. I think this is a better version of Pickle, right? I think everything about Devil J-Ho is better than Pickle. This fight isn't super fun though, right? Savage Pickle is meant to just whoop your ass. This funky ass monster is super hungry, he's super angry, he's gonna eat anything. Dude, this is it. Does J-Ho original use other monsters as weapons? I think I forgot about that with J-Ho. I think what I would do is actually bump up the grade of Devil J-Ho and then also bump up the grade of Savage Devil J-Ho a little bit, just because of that aspect alone is really funny. Like, that shit is hilarious to see. Like, he throws Jagras, he throws Great Jagras, he does an Odogaron, that's what it is. Great Jagras and Odogaron. They'll grab and throw, and it is funny, dude. Probably deserve to give J-Ho a little bit of credit, even more so. I'm gonna give Savage J-Ho at least an 8 out of 10. At least an 8 out of 10. Just because fighting him is a pain in the ass. You're not really hitting this monster in the face or the arms a lot. You're mostly hitting him in the friggin' legs. Because he's so big. This monster's too big. Ruiner Nergigante is good. Definitely doesn't have the impact of regular Nergigante. A Ruiner Nerg is technically better in many ways. More spiky boy, right? But I am gonna say it's a 1 point step down. 99 out of 10. right? Ruiner does save you, right? Some cool shit, because Nergigante in general is a 9 or a 10 out of 10 kind of monster. A cool monster. But something about Ruiner in his fight isn't nearly as impactful as, you know, him being the big flagship of the first game. So I'm gonna give him a 9 out of 10. Still cool. I like extra spikes. Shara Ishvalda. So this is the Xenojiva of Iceborne. And what a sick fucking fight. Oh my God. The reveal, everything about this fight is crazy. Like, what the hell is this giant ancient rock monster? And then it sheds that shit and it's got this huge reveal that it's this insanely ancient creature from, like, what the hell is going on? So sick, right? Just one of the coolest moments I've ever even had in a game. Yeah, I'm gonna give Shara Ishvalda a 10 out of 10, right? Just a much better version of Xenojiva in many ways. Kind of a similar fight, but the arena has much more impact. I think both versions look really cool. The big rock one and even, you know, the skin of Shara Ishvalda. Very interesting, sort of crazy creature. I love him. I love him. Zenogre's great, right? Zenogre's great. I don't think it's 10 out of 10 great. I think it's 9 out of 10 great, though. Can be kind of annoying, right? Can be kind of annoying, but not that much. Still a good boy, right? Still a good 9 out of 10. I like this fight a lot. Oh God, UN Cowabunga. So Yangaruga sucks. Everything about this creature, he looks weird, he fights weird, he's annoying, you bounce off of him. It's like the fight is specifically designed to just be frustrating. And that's actually his design. I'm gonna give this monster like a 4 out of 10. Just, this shit sucks. I'm not a big fan. He's crazy, right? And then Scarred, oh no. Same rating. I only killed this thing twice. I only killed this one 4 times. I think for good reason. If I don't need to do this shit anymore, I'm done. I can't even remember what Scarred does. But I'm just not interested. I don't even want to revisit those memories, right? We do not need to revisit those memories. Brute Tigrex looks way better than Tigrex, but easily is one of the more annoying monsters, right? Just, I think he's actually easier than Tigrex as well, but everything about him is just kind of annoying, right? He just screams a lot. But I do enjoy fighting him more than Tigrex. It's a weird balance. I think this is a 6 out of 10 monster, but I don't dislike him, right? All the roaring is, it is what it is, but at least it does have weakness and it tends to drop kind of fast, right? Because of how aggressive it is. 6 out of 10. Gold Rathian. I almost would put Gold Rathian and Silver Rathalos in the same plate. These monsters are fucking crazy because you fight them together for the most part. These fights are crazy. Like, it's almost like Silver Rathalos and Gold Rathian are what those fights should be, right? In terms of challenge. I think it bumps up whatever I had Rathian and Rathalos at up to like an 8 out of 10. Truly challenging monsters now. And they have like legitimate gimmicks and shit that you have to be very, very, very aware of. Yeah, I think this is an interesting fight. It's like a good endgame fight that is also one of the first like really big challenging ones in Iceborne. Rajang deserves credit. Deserves absolute brownie points for how unique he is. There's no other monster in the game that's like Rajang. There's just none. That inherently makes him like an 8 out of 10 in many ways. But you also got to put in bonuses that this bitch like Shoryukens dudes, and he does Blanca balls, and right, he's got some of the best turf wars in the game. That no matter how small he is, he eats Kirin horns. Like, of all the monsters in Monster Hunter, probably one of the more unique ones. We're gonna take King Kong Gorilla and just turn him into some insane, crazy ass-whooping monkey. I think Rajang gets a 9 out of 10 for that reason alone. 9 out of 10. I don't think he's a great fight. He's tough, right? He is a challenging as hell fight. But when you figure out how to fight against Rajang, it's like Diablos in many ways. It's super satisfying. In fact, I think comparing the skill level of you learning Diablos to the skill level of you learning how to fight against Rajang is kind of similar. This very nuanced aspect to them of learning how to fight him, and once you take advantage of that, you mess him up, dude. Like, this guy can get jacked up. Sadly, I think Stygian Zenogre is kind of forgetful. I sort of forget that this monster's in the game. Doesn't have as much impact as Zenogre. I can barely remember what it does that's different than Zenogre. I don't know. He's like a dragon version. He does have the Psycho Crusher, right? He did have some neat moves. I still think it's like a 7 out of 10 at least. I kind of forgot this monster's in the game. Straight up better Zinogre? I could see that. I mean, I can see why people like him. It's just that my impression of the monster wasn't nearly as impactful as Zinogre original, and watching that creature go around and do stuff. It's weird, just like the way my impression is of what happened to me in the game. So this isn't for everybody, but I definitely am like, it was good, right? This is 7 out of 10. Got overshadowed by Safi Jiva. Yeah, maybe. Safi Jiva is a really cool fight. Giant arena fight. Super unique, super interesting. There's like a few of these giant arena fights that they have of like these endgame monsters. And this is a true endgame monster, right? The gear from Safi Jiva literally still is good at endgame, and the weapons still are good at endgame until the very endgame. I'm giving Safi a 10. This is a 10 out of 10 at least. It's got some cool shit to it. The siege mode thing is cool, the progressing through the layers and stuff like that. It's a more fun version of Xenojiva with being still kind of similar, right? Safi's a 10 out of 10. Furious Rajang is the 10 out of 10, right? Just a more angry and crazier version of Rajang. Insane friggin' monkey. Gameplay is kind of a pain in the ass, but is just absolutely ballistic. I think the angrier monsters get, the happier I am with them. It's kind of weird. 10 out of 10. Speaking of which, remember that Brachydios? How I bumped it down from a 10 to a 9? Well, that's because I remembered that some of those things actually belong to Raging Brachydios. And once again, this is a 10 out of 10 monster. Raging Brachydios is just an absolute in madness version of original Brachydios, and leads to one of the coolest moments in the end of the game where he punches the holy hell out of his arena and heats up the It's so cool, dude. It's so cool. 10 out of 10. Great monster, great arena, great fight. Would fight again. Frostfang Barioth came out at like the wrong time. Has good armor, right? But that doesn't count. Easily one of the most forgettable monsters in the game. I think he's a better looking Barioth in many ways, but nothing about him is like super screaming uniqueness to me. He came out like right after all these big arena quests did, and he feels like he should have been way earlier, right? To be honest, dude, I've never seen this monster fucking do anything because we kill him so fast. I'm gonna give him like a 5 out of 10. And then Alatreon. Obviously it's a 10 out of 10, right? Another gimmick monster. This was one of the first either polarizing monsters where you're really gonna like Alatreon, or it pissed people off. This was one of the first fights that made people angry. People were mad at this monster because of the DPS check. And yes, it is frustrating for the first several attempts. It is a big pain in the neck. But as soon as you get the hang of it, it starts to make a lot of sense. And the DPS check doesn't become nearly as much of a problem. The whole fact that it focuses on element and all that stuff, it's a good fight, right? It destroyed the Steam reviews. I think this is a good fight. It's a good monster. I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10 just because the DPS check in itself is like this thing that you have to get used to, but everything else about it is super memorable and super interesting. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I don't think it's as good as Safi Jiva, but I still think it's really good. But what it's not as good as is Fatalis. I think Fatalis is almost better than Alatreon in every way. I think Safi at least has these like unique elements to him, but Fatalis just overshadows Alatreon in like every way. Fatalis is like the perfect classic monster hunter monster. He's just a challenging mob that you have to figure out, and it feels like they over-designed this fight in many ways, and it shows, right? He's the true final boss of the game, and it's challenging in a way where, yes, I was frustrated because it took me 3 different sessions of figuring out how to beat him, but in all of those sessions, I felt like I was on the cusp of victory every time. You know, this monster, for being the hardest monster in the game, made me feel like I was at every moment I could beat him. Like I could do this shit, but something always kicked in, whether it was the time limit, whether it was him not walking to the Dragonator, or some crazy thing that kicked in, right? Yeah, I like Fatalis a lot. A very great fight. The music's amazing. The proof of a hero kicking in, all that shit. All the spectacle of you hiding behind the barrier and it melting over, and 10 out of 10. I mean, if we could give a monster 11 out of 10, this is an 11 out of 10. And then there's Behemoth. It's weird. I don't know if we boil down Behemoth being the hardest, EX Behemoth, like Extremeth, being the hardest fight in the game. Because at least with Fatalis, I feel like with Fatalis, you can get really good at this, right? It's possible. I feel like with Behemoth, even though I fought Behemoth less than Fatalis. It still took me a long time to understand how to fight this dude. I still feel there's like a lot of luck involved in some ways. This fight truly doesn't feel like a Monster Hunter World fight, which is why it's a great crossover, you know? Doesn't feel like a Monster Hunter World fight. It has so many different things that you have to worry about in many ways. At least, I mean, until you grind it and you start going crazy. But it does have that element of jank and shit, right? It does have all that stuff, but he looks so cool, right? You need an actual party for Behemoth. You need people that are fulfilling roles. So I think Behemoth and Extremoth get 10 out of 10s for me. This is an insanely memorable fight, dude. The feeling of winning this fight was up there with Fatalis. There's only a couple of monsters that truly made you be like, oh god, it's done! Oh my god, it is done! We fucking did it! Like, Fatalis and Behemoth are the only two monsters to really do that. And then we have Leshen and Ancient Leshen. And you go from one end of the spectrum of being this incredible guest monster to quite literally the worst shit. Integrated in a way that makes you feel like you're playing Final Fantasy XIV in a good way in Monster Hunter World, to going to, you feel like you're playing Witcher 3 in Monster Hunter World and it sucks. I hate this fucking fight. There's a reason why there's only one or two of any of these friggin' dudes. I only killed this guy once. I was done with this shit. I don't ever want to do this shit again. God, this monster sucks. Just annoying to fight. I hate this fight. I hate it. I hate it, man. I'll give it a 3 or 4 out of 10. What other monsters did I only hunt once? I think that's the only one. It does have cool mechanics in using fire and shit, but it's like, to me, it was never in a way that was like satisfying, you know? It was always like, this annoying ass monster, dude. Jeez. Not a fan. Not a fan. I'm still saying it's like a 4 out of 10. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what's going to be the future of Monster Hunter. I'm looking forward to Rise. I hope Rise satiates the Monster Hunter feelings that this game gave me. For the first time, because this is obviously my first big Monster Hunter game I've played more than like an hour or two. I only put like, 600 hours into this one.